This is Sunrise Extra, streaming live on Wave now.
Good morning and happy Friday. It might be a little bit easier to get out of bed this morning, right?
Yes, and it's the last weekend, of September. Boo at the Zoo starting tomorrow. So, Carson.
And finally got some nice weather to enjoy.
Good, perfect timing.
Yeah, we've had so much rain this week. We're going to be making up for it with a lot of sunshine. How about that gorgeous view? That's from our New Albany Skytrack camera pointed east right down the mighty Ohio River. Bright blue skies are on the way. And at least here in the metro, we don't have a ton of fog. For now, we'll keep an eye on it. Most of the issues so far this morning have been just east of Interstate 65, as well as across southern Kentucky. We're seeing some improvement down in southern Kentucky, but you note that visibility in Bardstown is still down to 1.5 miles. How about Lebanon and Marion County? You've been socked into some really dense fog this morning with that visibility around 1/4 mile. Give yourself plenty of extra time and space on those roads if you encounter that fog. We'll keep a dense fog advisory in place for our eastern and southern counties until about 10 o'clock this morning. Temperatures are on the cool side. Actually feels pretty good out there. We're down to 61 here in Louisville. Everyone else waking up in the mid-50s at this hour. Next 12 hours show a gorgeous day ahead, especially once that fog clears. Our forecast high exactly where it should be at 79. We'll talk more about the weekend, and we'll give you an update on the tropics as well coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, today, the jury will return to the courtroom to make its sentence recommendations for Keyshawn Stewart. Stewart killed a Louisville construction worker and shot an off-duty LMPD officer in the face in 2021. The jury found Stewart guilty but mentally ill on murder, criminal intent to murder, wanton endangerment, and evading police charges. Prosecutors say Stewart knew what he was doing when he shot and killed Louisville paving and construction worker Fred O'Bannon and shot LMPD Sergeant Chris Lane. Lane survived. Stewart's defense argued mental health providers failed him. O'Bannon's family talked to us after the verdict.
We made it. It's been almost 4 long years. And we finally here. My tears are joy and frustration. But I'm just thankful that they found him guilty on every charge. Every charge. I got some peace today. Even though I've been given a 23-1 sentence, because 23 hours out of this day, my mind's in a whirlwind. I may have an hour before I can breathe.
The jury will return to the courtroom for their sentencing recommendations at 10 a.m.
The Meade County Sheriff's Office is making a new request for information about a murder that's gone unsolved for more than 2 years. The department posted a flyer on social media on Thursday reminding the community that 49-year-old Rhonda Abersol's murder is unsolved. She was found dead inside her home on Old Mill Road in June of 2023. Deputies say they've been following all leads, but they're asking for tips to help bring her killer to justice. You can call the Sheriff's Office directly or leave a tip at the dedicated tip line.
We're getting reaction from State Auditor Allison Ball to changes coming to the Department of Juvenile Justice. Governor Beshear signed 2 emergency regulations Thursday addressing isolation policies and mental health for juveniles. It comes more than a year after a review from Auditor Ball took issue with a number of issues in juvenile centers, including isolation, use of force, understaffing, and mental and physical health services. Auditor Ball says her office will closely monitor if Governor Beshear's new orders actually address the findings in her audit. Governor Beshear says he's confident his new policies will lead to meaningful change.
When I took office, our juvenile justice system had been in place and really hadn't changed in over 20 years. The facilities were not safe, and we knew we had to act.
The Metro Council passed a resolution last night urging the governor and the DJJ to expedite the reopening of the juvenile detention facility in Louisville. The WAVE troubleshooters have been bringing issues within the DJJ to light since 2022. You can find the troubleshooters' previous investigations and the auditor's full report on wave3.com. Governor Beshear also says the state is doing more to help inmates re-enter society once their sentence is served. Governor Beshear says they've added 14 9 technical education courses in prisons across the Commonwealth. 26 courses will be available for inmates who are released and then go back to work. There's also a pre-apprenticeship program with Ironworks, while the Department of Correction looks for more qualified instructors to teach additional technical skills. In February, the governor said nearly 70% of people released from state custody in the past 2 years have not been reincarcerated. For anyone who wants to learn about those programs, you can go to secondchanceky.gov. Kentucky is one of 9 states that does not compensate someone who was wrongfully convicted of a crime.
Some who have been exonerated and attorneys from the Kentucky Innocence Project now hope their elected leaders can make new laws to fix that. Metro Council passed a new proclamation last night that honors Kentucky exonerees and pushes state lawmakers to pass a new law to pay people who have been wrongfully convicted. A compensation bill has been introduced in Kentucky State House before, but it's never made it to the governor's desk to sign into law. Advocates and exonerees hope the next time is different. Exonerees say they're happy to have Metro Council support for a compensation bill, and they want the public to support them too.
I've been out 13 years and a few months, and ain't nothing changed. I still have breakdowns all the time. You have a lot of emotional imbalances because of a wrongful conviction, and I wish that the Hall of Justice where I was convicted at would get it right.
Louisville Metro Council has declared October 2nd Wrongful Conviction Day in the city.
Well, when you see orange barrels on the roads, hopefully you know it's time to slow down. That is what law enforcement and road crews expect.
But too often, officials say that doesn't happen. Now extra sets of eyes will be out to help. Wave News reporter Rob Wells is here now with the details. Rob.
Yeah, Olivia, this is part of House Bill 664, known as the Jared Lee Helton Act. Helton, a Kentucky highway worker who lost his life in a work zone crash. It gives the green light for automated speed enforcement in work zones. Among the first places to receive those cameras this week are a US 25 work zone, that's in Fayette County, an I-75 work zone near Corbin, and one on I-64 that's in Shelby County. Those devices, by the way, won't be active at first, giving the drivers time to adjust to the new technology before enforcement begins in October. Patrol officers say that the main goal, as always, is to protect the people who are part of our road crews.
The goal is not to hand out tickets. It's to prevent fatalities and protect both motorists and construction crews working in these high-risk environments.
Work zones with automated enforcement, they're going to feature warning signs, even flashing lights, so the drivers know when they're approaching an area where those cameras, in fact, are active. Tickets will only be issued in person by law enforcement officers based on detector data. The fines can be up to $500 when workers are present. Kentucky State Police is going to oversee the enforcement at the initial locations for the remainder of the year. Shannon, back over to you.
Thanks, Rob. We could hear testimony today in the case of a former UK student charged in connection to her baby's death. 21-year-old Laken Snelling is accused of hiding the birth of her infant and leaving the baby's body in a closet. A preliminary autopsy could not confirm how the baby boy died. She's been on house arrest for the past 3 weeks and has withdrawn from UK. Her preliminary hearing is set for 8:30 this morning.
Friends and family of longtime Jefferson County Sheriff John Aubrey are getting ready to celebrate his life. Aubrey died on Wednesday at the age of 86. Visitation is happening at Southeast Christian Church on October 1st from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Funeral services will be the next morning on October 2nd at 10:30. Aubrey will be buried at St. Michael's Cemetery off Ellison Avenue after the service.
This morning, fire investigators in southern Indiana are looking for the person or people responsible for starting a recent house fire. It happened in last Thursday morning on West Oak Street. Fire crews say they got a report of a suspicious fire in a home that went up in flames. Fire crews got to the property. No one was home, they found out, as the fire was burning. Crews do believe someone intentionally set it. So if you have any tips, it can be reported anonymously to the Indiana Arson Hotline at 1-800-382-4628. And there's a reward of up to $5,000 for information that leads to an arrest and conviction in that case. Let's go back to Rob right now, taking a look at the traffic for this Friday morning.
Shannon, thanks so much. I'm happy it's Friday. I'm happy for you as well if you're heading out on the roadways to work or school this morning. Things looking all clear. It's been so busy the last couple days with all the rain. This is a live look. We're at 264 at Bells Lane. Traffic moving along pretty smoothly out there. No major types to talk about, but you do see something something kind of cool. If you see right in the middle there, some leaves may be changing, a hint of fall. It's officially here, so I guess that would be appropriate. But right now, things looking pretty good. Watch your speeds, of course, in the construction zones, as we've been talking about, but otherwise, not too bad for a Friday morning. Back over to you.
Thank you. I have been raking those leaves constantly. I could do it, and then 5 minutes later, it looks as if I didn't even do it.
But they're pretty.
Yeah,
They're pretty.
but not when they fall down, then they're brown.
When they change colors.
Yes,
Yeah, they
then
can be
that's
pretty for a second.
Okay, well, Boo at the Zoo starts tomorrow.
Wave News reporter Marissa Burke is live there this morning. She'll give us a look at what to expect this year.
Right now, rescue crews in Texas are looking for a Kentucky college student who disappeared during a fishing trip. 21-year-old Peyton Hughes is on Campbellsville University's bass fishing team. The last time anyone saw him was Wednesday. He was practicing for a tournament on the Toledo Bend Reservoir. Several rescue crew teams from Texas and Louisiana are helping in the search. Campbellsville University posted a statement saying their prayers were with Hughes, his family, and teammates. Pewee Valley Fire is adding some new technology to their fire response. They added a new state-of-the-art drone. Pewee Fire says they'll hope this will help bump up their responses during emergencies. They got the drone with no cost to taxpayers with the help of the Free to Hope Foundation. The drone has thermal imaging to find hot spots, full color night vision, and other capabilities. Pewee Fire already has 4 certified drone operators, and more are now in training.
U of L's leadership want to help support pediatric cancer research in the Commonwealth. The university has been awarded $2.5 million from the Kentucky Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund. The money will be used to hire 3 new researchers who in turn will help develop child cancer studies. These new researchers are expected to join U of L early next year.
Tomorrow morning is the annual Kentuckiana Heart Walk. This year, it's going to move from the Big 4 lawn to U of L's Grawemeyer lawn. All the fun gets going around 8 and the walk starts at 9. There's a pet costume contest. Wave is a proud sponsor, and I look forward to being the MC again this year. For over a century, the American Heart Association has saved and improved lives, pioneered scientific discovery, and advocated for healthy communities. So we'll see lots of dogs dressed up tomorrow for the costume contest, and the kids have a chance to dress up too as Boo at the Zoo starts tomorrow.
Families are encouraged to dress up in those costumes, see the zoo transformed into a living storybook. Plus, you get to see all the animals too. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke. She's cat dog. You're not going to see that animal at the zoo this weekend, but hey, here we go. So much to see at Boo at the Zoo, Marissa.
Absolutely. I'm one of a kind. You're never going to find me anywhere but here. I'm here with Kyle Shepard, and Boo at the Zoo continues to find ways to be inclusive for everyone, because when we talk about turning this place into a live storybook, sometimes there's a little too much for people. So how are you guys making sure that everyone can get in on all the fun?
Like you said, we're trying to make it inclusive for everyone. We've got 2 special nights. So we have allergy-friendly night on the 22nd, and that's just what it sounds like. So if you have kids who are allergic to certain, candies, we have basically fun stuff like tattoos, pencils, stickers to give away at the trick-or-treat booths. And then the following Wednesday, so October 29th, we're doing a sensory-friendly night. So that means it's a smaller crowd, the lights are lower, the music's lower, and less sort of, crazy environment. So yeah, so those 2 nights they will book up fast because it's limited times. But so go ahead and get your tickets for those, and then Boo at the Zoo, we open actually tomorrow night. So yeah,
so exciting. Tickets start around $13, but since Meijer is helping you guys out with the event, people can stop by the store and get some special prices.
And that's the best ticket to get, actually, is at the store at Meijer, our presenting sponsor, because you can come any night of the week. So, and tickets are online. Come early, because we as we get toward the end of the run, it'll get more popular, and we'll sell out as we get closer to Halloween, of course. And then, yeah.
And so one of the things that makes this event just so unique is the lovely characters. You guys have just been tickling me pink this morning. So tell me, how is it for you guys to see those kids light up when they see you guys' faces?
Well, the best feeling is seeing the little bells run all the way to me and give me the best hugs a little teacup could.
Oh, and then go ahead and give us a twirl.
Of course.
See, it's just always magical here at Boo at the Zoo. So all the fun starts tomorrow and goes until the 30th. Marissa Burke, Wave News.
Love it. Thank you, Marissa. I love seeing all the little costumes too.
Yes,
all
so cute.
The best part.
Yeah, and will they have to make any adjustments to those costumes to make them warmer for tomorrow night?
Not at all. It's going to be very, very comfortable. If only we had this kind of weather on Halloween every year, right? It's always too cold or too wet, something like that. But no problems as we head into this weekend. Let's get you out the door this morning on the Wave Weather app. We are still tracking some patchy fog in a few spots, not everywhere, but where that fog is, it's pretty dense. So take it slow, turn those low beam headlights on. That fog should lift once we get past 9 or 10 o'clock this morning, and that'll leave behind tons of sunshine, maybe a few afternoon clouds. That's all. Our forecast high today, 79. It's exactly where we should be. It's our average high for this time of year. It's quiet all weekend here at home, which means our main focus in the Weather Center is the tropics. Look how busy it is. Busiest so far this season with 3 systems we're watching. Let's focus on 2 of them. You notice Hurricane Umberto still expected to stay offshore the U.S., basically split the goalpost, if you will, between the East Coast and Bermuda. But what we're watching really hasn't officially formed yet. You notice that red blob? That's still an area of interest, but it is soon going to become Imelda, the next name on the list. And unfortunately, confidence is increasing that Imelda is going to make landfall somewhere in the Carolinas early next week. However, there are still a ton of uncertainties with Imelda. How fast does it move inland? When does it make landfall? And at least for us, the big question is, how much moisture from Imelda do we see here in Wave Country? This particular version of Futurecast is the most aggressive when it comes to our rain chances. And even then, you notice it's not a washout at all next week. More than anything else, will likely an increase in cloud cover. But Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there is a chance for a few showers, especially if Imelda can move inland to the north and west. There are some forecast models that move Imelda further south once it moves inland. So still a lot of fine tuning to do with that forecast, at least here in Wave Country, as we get towards early next week. But the weekend looks great. Let's get you outside to downtown Louisville here at 718. Clear skies, not a ton of fog here in the city. 61 our current temperature. The reason why we have some of that patchy fog, well, we got a clear sky, a calm wind, and of course all that moisture in the ground from the 2 to 4 inches of rain we saw earlier this week. High temperatures topping out for most of us in the upper 70s, but you notice there could be a few spots, especially further to the south and east, that briefly touch 80 degrees later on today. Still a very nice day ahead. We keep that nice weather around all weekend. Humidity levels have dropped. but it'll still be a few degrees warmer this weekend. 82 on Saturday, lots of sunshine. More sunshine on Sunday. That'll be the warmest day over the next 10 with a high of 84. If you are heading to Boo at the Zoo tomorrow night, no need for the jackets, no need for costume adjustments. We'll be just fine. 81 degrees around 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, dropping steadily through the 70s as the evening goes on. And the big picture setup for the early part of next week keeps us quiet. Thinks this ridge of high pressure is going to heat things up across the central U.S., but here at home, we'll be above average, but still feeling pretty comfortable in the low 80s. And then we turn our attention to Imelda and try to figure out exactly where it's going to go and what those rain chances mean for us. Right now, those chances are low, as you see on the 10-day earliest alert, around 10 to 20%. We'll keep those temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s through the next 10 days.
Sounds good. Thank you, Carson. Still to come here on Sunrise Extra, an update on jockey Brian Hernandez Jr. after he fell off a horse on Sunday. I'll tell you how he's doing coming up in just 2 minutes.
Jockey Brian Hernandez Jr. is waking up at home this morning. He was released from the hospital last night. Hernandez broke 7 ribs, suffered internal bleeding and a collapsed lung after falling off his horse during the 3rd race at Churchill Downs. He says that the horse accidentally stomped on his chest. Surgeons had to add plates and screws to stabilize his ribs. Hernandez says he hopes to recover in time, though, to ride Torpedo Anna in the Preakness, which is about 5 weeks away. But he says it is great to be at home with his 3 kids and his wife.
FIFA has unveiled mascots for the 2026 World Cup. Meet Maple, Zayu, and Clutch. FIFA says these mascots symbolize part of its host country's cultures. Clutch, the bald eagle, will represent the U.S., Maple, the moose, represents Canada, and then Zayu, the jaguar, represents Mexico. All 3 countries are hosting the World Cup games next summer. At least 11 U.S. cities will host matches. The World Cup opens in Mexico City on June 11th. The championship final is scheduled for July 19th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey.
The highly anticipated return of Jazz in Central Park happens this weekend. It was originally postponed to 2026 by the producer, Vessel Management. After community outcry, though, Councilman J.P. Lininger confirmed a new date for the event. It'll happen this Sunday from 2 to 5. Some of the music performances have Maestro J, Darnell, Bashiri Assad, and the event will also have food trucks, local vendors, community organizers, too. It is free and open to the public. week. Bernheim Forest is unveiling a new tree house that will be accessible to children of all abilities. There are ramps and pathways that'll lead right to that tree house. It sits 15 feet above the ground. It also has picnic tables, a sandbox, and a water pump. It's so cool. Bernheim Forest will unveil the new tree house at their celebration of Play Day, set for Saturday, October 4th from 11 to 4. You know, kids are just going to love that.
As they should.
Yes. We'll be right back.
This Wave News Update is sponsored by Oxmoor Auto Group.
Good morning, I'm Shannon Kogan. Today, a jury will recommend a punishment for a man who killed a construction worker and shot an LMPD officer. Keyshawn Stewart was found guilty but mentally ill on murder, criminal intent to murder, and wanton endangerment charges. Prosecutors say Stewart knew what he was doing when he shot and killed Louisville paving and construction worker Fred O'Bannon and shot LMPD Sergeant Chris Lane. Lane survived. Stewart's defense argued mental health providers failed him. The jury will return for sentencing at 10 this morning. We'll let you know what happens. Well, let's go to Carson Meredith right now in for Tawana. How's the weekend looking?
Looking great, Shannon. Finally, after a wet work week, we're drying things out. Gorgeous sunrise from our New Albany Skytrack camera, but there are still some areas in wave country dealing with patchy, dense fog, especially east of Interstate 65. Visibility down to a quarter mile in Bardstown, about a mile and a half in Lebanon, and even just across the Ohio River in southern Indiana, we're down to a half-mile visibility in Jeffersonville and Madison. A dense fog advisory continues mainly east of I-65 through about 10 o'clock this morning, but wherever you are, just make sure you give yourself some extra time and space on the roads. Next 12 hours, once the fog lifts, it looks great. Tons of sunshine. Our forecast high today is 79. Here's Rob now with the check of the roadways on this Friday morning.
Carson, thanks so much. I love the sound of that Friday morning. I love Fridays, and I like passing along good news to you when it comes to the roadways. And that's what we have for you this morning. We're taking a live look this morning. Great shot. This is 65 along the Kennedy Bridge. Things moving along, not nearly as slow as it was the last couple days with all that rain and patchy fog out there. Keep an eye, though. We do see those little construction barrels out there, and that means slow down wherever those are at. You want to give yourself a lot of extra time and space in those areas. Otherwise, things looking pretty good along the metro. We'll keep you posted throughout the morning. Send things back to the Today Show. We'll see you in about another 25 minutes from now.
Good morning. You're watching Wave Sunrise Extra. I'm Olivia Russell. We're going to be talking about plenty of different topics today, including robo-umpires. It's been tested out in the AAA League. Now it's going to the Major League next year. We're going to talk to some people with the Louisville Bats and tell us a little bit about how that technology works and how it'll make the strike zone a bit more accurate. Plus, we have a live interview talking about October's Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. But first, I want to start with some local news, including a new settlement that'll force Louisville Metro Council to consider changes to land development code and pay $6 million to a Louisville developer. The council agreed to settle with LDG developers after a group filed a lawsuit, which was over a project called Prospect Cove. The project was a nearly 200-unit complex for seniors' affordable apartments off River Road. The council voted to reject the proposal after some community pushback in 2017. LDG sued Metro, saying they violated the Fair Housing Act when it voted it down. As part of the settlement, though, council members must consider changes to the land development code. That includes expanding the timeline that a planning phase can last for affordable housing projects and how much council can weigh in on zoning changes. Councilman Andrew Owen proposed the two concessions. He says the ideas were already becoming reality before the settlement.
These were changes that needed to happen anyway, and that we were going to bring in front of council anyway. And so the conversation to include them in the non-monetary part of the settlement just makes all the sense in the world to me. I see no issue with that at all.
An LDG spokesperson says they agree with the changes and they're committed to using the money from the settlement, directing funds to produce more housing options. They have their full statement over on wave3.com. A recent Better Business Bureau study shows there's a sharp rise in a risky type of online gambling in Indiana. The BBB says the term gray market gambling describes the kind of online gambling that's not necessarily illegal, but it's not fully licensed. Consumer advocates say these types of setups are risky because people are more likely to have their information stolen. Warning signs to watch out for, they say, are apps with no terms and conditions and app companies with headquarters overseas.
Sweepstakes style games. Those are definitely blurring the lines between what's legal and what's illegal as far as gambling. All of that is on purpose to confuse the person, but it can be costly.
If you're unsure whether the gaming app you want to download is safe, the state of Indiana does have a list of licensed companies, and you can find a link to that right now on wave3.com. Indiana is being given millions of dollars to fund a huge project in Jeffersonville. This week, Mayor Mike Moore revealed the Indiana Economic Development granted the Jeff Boat Project $20 million. The plan is to bring restaurants, stores, homes, and other businesses to the site of the former shipyard. The city previously received $6.5 million from the Indiana Ready program, adding up to a total of $26.5 million state dollars. A longtime adversary of President Donald Trump faces charges that carry up to 5 years in prison. The Justice Department says a grand jury has indicted former FBI Director James Comey. Trump says he let the DOJ decide on its own whether to pursue Comey. Amy Kiley reports some critics claim the indictment is less about justice and more about revenge.
I'm innocent, so let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Former FBI Director James Comey faces federal charges after a grand jury indictment. They include allegations of false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. At issue is Comey's 2020 testimony before a Senate committee. In it, he repeats his denial of an accusation that he authorized an FBI media leak.
Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
Some analysts say the case could be hard to prosecute. A source says Attorney General Pam Bondi had concerns about it, though she denies that. A 2018 DOJ Inspector General report says Comey's accuser, quote, lacked candor. The indictment has no signatures from any career DOJ prosecutors, just a new Trump appointee. It contains no other evidence and is a page and a half long.
When your producer handed it to me, I said, well, where's the indictment? I thought this was just a cover sheet. This is the whole thing.
President Donald Trump calls the indictment, quote, justice in America, after he publicly asked Bondi to pursue it.
Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy.
Some analysts say the indictment is revenge because Comey investigated Trump's 2016 campaign.
I'm not afraid. Vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Comey is expected to be arraigned in October. Kentucky Representative Thomas Massey says he now has the support to bypass House Speaker Mike Johnson and call for a vote to release the Justice Department files on the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Massey, a Republican, needed 218 petition signatures to force a vote on the House floor, ordering the release of all unclassified records in the Epstein investigation. Massey had been leading the effort, backed by only 2 other Republicans. The final signature came from a Democrat in Arizona, winning a race this week to replace her late father. Although President Trump has been critical of Massey's efforts and even threatened to campaign against him, Massey says he still has the support of his constituents.
We list on a ballot. Without disclosing any proprietary information, if the election were today, I would sail through it against any candidate we list on a ballot.
Massey says it's now up to Speaker Johnson to make decision on the files. Governor Andy Beshear is commenting about the Trump administration's recent recommendation for women to not take Tylenol during pregnancy. The administration claims their research has found a link between the medicine and autism, despite numerous medical groups saying those claims are not true.
But listen to your doctor. Decades of sound science is being overturned or at least ignored by the federal government, and that's really unfortunate.
The president cited an analysis from New York's Mount Sinai saying some studies found a potential link between an active ingredient in Tylenol, acetaminophen, and autism. The president said pregnant women should not use the drug. Several medical associations have spoken out against the White House's stand by saying there's been no causal link between the two. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us here for Sunrise Extra. We'll go ahead and get these cameras. They're a little bit messed up. I had to have a quick talk here, of course, with Lisa and Lindsay. Thank you all so much for being here. Of course, we're talking about October's Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and this is such a huge thing to talk about. It's something that people haven't really talked about in the past, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think, we in the community realize that people don't want to hurt our feelings. And so they don't want to bring up our baby's names. They don't want to talk about it. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change that narrative. So please say our babies' names.
Well, and Lindsay, even right now, you're holding something so special to you that does have your baby's name. Tell me about Bryant.
Yes, so this is my candle. We use it on October 15th every year for the Wave of Light. We actually took it to Yankee Candle with a picture of Bryant so we could create our own label. But on October 15th, no matter where you're at in the world, you should light a candle at 7 p.m. so that there's a wave of light for our angels.
Lisa, why is it so important to talk about this too?
Well, infant loss is one of those things where people often just sweep it under the rug. They don't really see it as a real loss, unfortunately. And 1 in 4 women lose a baby to miscarriage. 1 in 175 lose a baby as a stillborn baby. And so that's a lot of babies every year that families are, their hopes and dreams have been crushed. And so we want to talk about it. We want to raise awareness. We want to acknowledge, we want to say their name. It's very important that we acknowledge that they are part of their family. They were babies. They were part of the hopes and dreams of that family. And so I just love, this is our 2nd annual Angel Walk. And I love that we're doing this. There are a lot of families already registered. We have over 350 people already registered to come for the walk. That's super exciting to be able to love on these people, because a lot of times it's like, oh, you're young, you'll have another baby, all these little platitudes that come out from people, and those aren't always very helpful. So
what are some things that people should or shouldn't say, because it's always such a, tough time for someone, but you want to be there, show support, but at the same time, you don't want to cross a line that would cause more harm than good?
Absolutely. I think, even with living children, we want to talk about our families and our babies. So say their name, ask what their name is. I always think to say it presently. What is your baby's name? What is your angel's name? Just because they passed doesn't mean their name is passed. Ask what they look like. Ask if, people are comfortable sharing pictures of their babies. Bryson, that's my angel. I'm sorry. That's my rainbow. I'm sorry. Bryant was so chunky and he was precious, and I love showing him off. I love talking about him. All the women in my group want to tell their babies' names too and their angel stories.
And I mean, it seems like we're using such strong, powerful words: rainbow babies, angels, even babies born sleeping too. Those words are so strong to, I guess, kind of take it back and remind people that these are babies. These are humans too.
Yes.
How powerful is that language, instead of saying things that might seem insensitive?
Absolutely. I think, we as a community have really turned that language and that narrative around to make it more comforting to the community, so we can talk about it.
Yes.
And when it comes to grief response, Lisa, I mean, tell us about the importance of just talking about this and getting it out and sharing that people aren't alone through this process.
Yes. So we help people primarily with sudden loss through first hour grief recovery. And we often just sit and listen with people. You asked about what you can do for somebody. Sometimes it's just sitting and listening, not trying to fix it. There's a lot of times not even having the right words, right? I don't know what to say. Unfortunately, that does scare people off. And so they do nothing. But, you can sit with somebody and just listen and not feel like you have a need to fix something for a person who's lost a baby or a spouse, or we unfortunately serve in a variety of ways, infant loss certainly, but suicide, overdoses, car crashes, any type of sudden unexpected loss. And so that's really what our ministry is about.
And this Angel Walk is going to be a great way for people to get connected to. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's coming up on October 4th. That's soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is October 4th. The event starts at 9 a.m. and ends at noon, but our walk itself is going to start at 10 a.m. Excuse me. It's at Broad Run Park off of Bardstown Road, like you're heading in towards Mount Washington. There's a pavilion so that it is covered just in case the rain decides to come, because we live in Louisville. You never know.
You never know. It's always a surprise.
But we have a ton of vendors. So we have some things that are going to be for sale that will be able to be made with our angels' names on it. So we're just really excited.
Yeah, a lot of family-friendly things. We've got angel pumpkins that kids can decorate. We're going to have face painting. We'll have some yummy donuts from Sugar and Spice. Honey Brothers is donating all the coffee. And Shirley's Way has been our presenting sponsor this year. And they've just been always stepping up to help out our ministry. So we really appreciate them.
Absolutely. And the shirts that we're wearing today are actually going to be on sale at the walk. So
Yeah.
So a great way to get people connected there too.
Yes.
And it's the second annual one too. So last year being the first one, what was that response like? And to be able to bring people together to talk about this?
it was beautiful.
It really was.
I think that's the best way to describe it, to see the different angels that were being represented and to even see families and maybe some older women say, I've had a loss, but nobody's ever talked about it.
Yeah, that's what we find is a lot of people, once you start talking about this, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. You know, 1 in 4 women have a miscarriage. That's a pretty high statistic. So, a lot of people will start talking about it once you talk about it.
And is this something that, I mean, I feel like in recent years, people have finally been able to open up about that and have that experience where they can say, hey, this happened to me. And I have a friend who went through this, because for so long it was just quiet and, to deal with that in private. Have you seen a shift recently?
Absolutely. I think because there's more statistics coming out, because there's more data coming out, we are seeing that shift. We are seeing that conversation happen. And I think more people are becoming more comfortable with the conversation.
Lindsay leads a group too on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, and it's both hybrid and in person. So there is a place for you to come and talk about this. Whether you're not feeling like getting out of bed or leaving the house, that's totally fine. Just know that there's a group of women that are talking about this, and you are more than welcome to join. It's free, and we would love to have you.
So we have the Angel Walk coming up, but how else can people get connected with you all if they have any grief to share, whether it's infant loss or anything else?
Absolutely. So they can absolutely connect with us through First Hour Grief Recovery. You can find us on social media. You can also go to our website as well. Like Lisa said, I do host a support group. It's the most incredible group of women I've ever met, and they're strong. And we say our baby's names very often.
Yeah.
Any other way that you recommend people reach out? And I'm sure you're encouraging them, get help.
Get help for sure. Come and talk about it. There's no shame in talking about what happened. It is a different type of loss than any other loss because, your baby's dreams and hopes just aren't going to happen. And so how do I navigate that? There's so many different things that you're dealing with. Like, what do I do with the baby clothes? What do I do with the baby's room? There's just so many questions. People aren't talking to me about it. They're acting like it didn't happen. There's just all these different issues. Plus grief is just this roller coaster of emotions. So how do I process that? And am I going crazy? Is this normal? Is just normalizing it for somebody? And so coming and talking about it is one way. We do one-to-one mentoring too. So if you just don't feel like the group thing, you can come in and meet with a mentor one-on-one, and we can help you that way.
And we have a chance to honor all of those babies coming up on October 4th with the Angel Walk. We're looking forward to being together and bringing that group together. Thank you all so much for sharing this, because hopefully this message really hits home for someone who can turn that grief into something else and be connected with a great group. So thank you all so much for sharing that story.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you, Olivia.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Thanks for staying with us here for Wave Sunrise Extra. We have a lot coming up this weekend, especially that big St. X Trinity game that'll be played, of course, down at L&N Stadium, something they do every year because it is also our Touchdown Friday night game of the week. Uh-oh, wrong video there. Here we go. That's better. Rocks enter the game with a 4-1 record. Their only loss coming to Cincinnati Moeller so far this year. St. X has a 3-1 record, only losing to Elder this season. Last year, it was St. X who beat the Rocks, and tonight's game kicks off at 8 o'clock at L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium. You can catch the highlights from that, plus all of our other high school games on Touchdown Friday night. That is coming up at 11 o'clock tonight. I always got in trouble because I wore St. X one time, and my brother who went to Trinity was not happy with me. Let's say that. Well, if you've ever been to a baseball game, you have definitely seen someone argue strikes and balls. That's probably one of the most argued about things in all of baseball. But a new system will be part of the Major League next year in hopes of making that call a bit more accurate. The technology has been in testing for years with the AAA level, and of course that means here with the Louisville Bats. Wade News reporter Logan Perone has more on the big change coming to the MLB.
When baseball returns in the spring, its latest innovation will be in the starting lineup.
I'm excited to see what it brings next year.
Vince Zeeland is the Bats marketing director and was a skeptic when the automated ball strike system, or ABS, was introduced to Slugger Field and the AAA level in 2023. Since then, the technology has been tested,
called strike 3,
tinkered with, and tested again.
ABS is amazing for the game. It is absolutely amazing. It's a great addition and use of technology that doesn't detriment the game at all. In fact, it helps it.
Here's how it works. A machine called a TrackMan watches the ball come in and determines where the pitch is located. If the pitch is challenged, operators run a simulation of the pitch.
Our technical director at that point will get it live up on the big board. We'll send it out, press play, and everyone can kind of watch and go from there.
People watching at home will also catch the simulations in the broadcast, which can measure a pitch's location to about 1/10 of an inch. For years, the farm system has been a place of trial and error for the future of baseball. MLB's Ghost Runner rule, the pitch clock, and more were all tested in the minors. Zeeland says it shows teams like the Bats can make a literal big league impact.
We're proud to be a testing zone, an opportunity for new equipment for guys to come in and show their worth and, how can baseball improve in the future. So we love doing it. We love being able to kind of see new and fun, exciting things.
And you'll see how that plays out in the major leagues next year for the 2026 season. Doesn't completely get rid of the umpire, though. They'll be calling almost the entire game. It's just when that batter challenges that ball strike call. And it's pretty accurate, too. So interesting to see how that'll play up at the big league level. That's all the time we have here for Wave Sunrise Extra. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week.